going to stop right in here and then pick up again right here. Except for this little point right here. All right, so we're just going to lay in the orange now. Where I think there's way too much orange in there. Okay. If you don't have transparent pyrrole orange, this is a mixture of lemon yellow and magenta, which makes an absolutely stunning orange. This is a darker part of his body. It's almost a square right in here. And then his stomach bows out. And I'm going to keep all this soft. If you get too much water on your brush, just blot it off. Okay, I'm just going to soften this because there aren't any hard lines in here. Alright. And you see how that started to dry? So if you have that, if you get a harsh line, just wet it out. Dilute it with your water. You'll be fine. Thinking of form when we're painting these shapes, there's a definite form to this. Everything has a form. This is his belly, so it's a rounded form. And it goes all the way down to here. Blot your brush, soften it. It's always better to have softer lines rather than harder lines if you can manage it, because it's just easier to correct if you make a mistake. And now we're going to leave little bits of yellow in here. Painting around some of those areas. And then he gets quite a bit yellower down here. This is all kind of yellow. And his fin is going to come in here with a softer orange. Right there. I'm just using this brighter mixture, which is the magenta and the lemon yellow in these areas where this is actually much darker. There's actually a little gill right here. We need to get in there. And as much as you can connect your shapes, it's better to keep things flowing if you can connect them. And that should be yellow there, so coming on in here. Leaving little bits here and there. And that is a little yellow. It looks almost like an eyebrow right there. That's pretty cute. Right. And if you're afraid to go in with this strong color, go in with a light wash first and then come in with your stronger colors. And the shape of his mouth is wrong here, so I'm just going to paint right over that. And I know his nose is going to be darker. So that'll be our first wash of that. This coming down here with a soft orange there. This is all orange here. I like to leave some of this yellow showing through if I can, especially in here, because this is all blending together. That fin comes behind this fin. Alright, and I'm just going to soften those lines now so that we don't have such strong lines. And soften it a bit. I want to build that gradually. We're trying to get this luminescent quality to these fins. And this part, the under part under his eye, right here, just very dark, all the way to his nose, and here. And around his eye. And we'll just make a little bit of marks in there. Come back up here. Maybe strengthen this right here a little bit. Around that and around that gill. And you know, the thing we have to remember here is we're painting our interpretation of this little guy. So if you don't get everything perfect, it's really fine. It's not a big deal. Just giving him a little texture there. Okay, so that's going to be our first wash. And with that, I'm going to let this dry, and then we'll be back, and we will keep working on him. Okay, we're back. This is a spotter brush. This is an Anna Mason Rosemary and Company brush. It's a 0, and I've used it to put in the ring, his pupil, and the ring around his eye. I find that if you use a like this number 2, well, this is number 4, but if you use the number 2 or a long, here we go. If you use this number 2, which is a wonderful detail brush, but the problem is the bristles are so long, it's hard to control the detail. So if you use a shorter brush like this one that has a really tiny little bristles, you can have more control in these smaller areas. And that's just Payne's Gray that I'm putting in there. I'm just putting in some of these dark places. And even though they're dark, they do have a slight purple tint to them. So I'll add a tiniest little bit of that purple mixture to my Payne's Gray. And I'm going to see if I can correct this face, his mouth, which is more like a V, like that. And he has a little koi. Koi are incredibly beautiful. Well, he's a goldfish, but goldfish and koi have these incredible markings that are really gorgeous. And you can just randomly put them in. They don't have to be exactly what you see. There are certain places, though, that I like to mimic what I see. This just gives him a nice set of detail. And I've put the original painting up here to compare. Sometimes it's easier for my students to paint from a painting than it is to paint from the actual photograph. But anyway, whatever way works for you, it really doesn't matter. Thinking we have a dark line that comes here, comes all the way down here, comes up here, and moves into there. And I'm just going to soften that with a little water so we don't get a hard edge. You do want hard and soft edges in your paintings, but there's a fine line. Like this is a definite hard edge here. It comes here and actually moves into the, and that's just that same mixture that we were using a lighter version here. Because you have to have contrast for your paintings to look lively. Okay, so I'll just put that in, then go back and soften the edge. And that just makes all the difference in realism right there. Just softening those edges make a huge difference. Now with this tiny brush, I'm going to add some more of the violet in here. And then I'm going to wash that back. Into here. And he's looking better. If I want definition in here, if I do this way, bring it all kind of up here like that, it gives us a nice definition there, just some movement. Okay, I guess we need to go in, let me do a little more black here. What I call black, which is actually the Payne's gray. I don't use black generally. Very rarely do I use black. This needs to come on down. A bit lower here. Payne's gray is just about black anyway. It's definitely, and then I'm blotting this just to give it variation in texture so that it's not so severe.